Welcome to the Voice of College Football here on the SEC channel. My name is Tegan Randolph from Snap to Whistle Football. And what we are going to spend some time talking about is some good old-fashioned recruiting. Because, I feel like it's a lost art in college football at this point. So much talk about narrative, so much talk about who's on the hot seat, who is going to change the course of college football, what playoff format are we about to have. But if you're here and you're interested about recruiting, that's how I know you're an actual diehard college football fan. And what better way than talking about the best conference in all of college football, the SEC? And there's been a ton of news across the conference, ranging from some of the top prospects coming out of high school making their grand decision as of now. We are obviously so far away from signing day. Nothing is guaranteed, but I think one of the notions that people have around recruiting is, oh, it doesn't matter if they commit in June, July. It matters when we get to National Signing Day, or what is now the big one, early National Signing Day in December. And truthfully, I think it's almost, not real. It's a myth. It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. There's a lot of commits that end up staying throughout the summer. Now, obviously, you run into the situation where a guy commits to a program, to a coach, he potentially leaves by the end of the season. They end up having a disastrous year, I think, of Florida State last year, where, of course, if I'm a commit and I see just the program is not what I thought it once was, of course I would leave. And so every few weeks or so, we're going to tune back in, talk about what are the big topics around the SEC and what teams are just absolutely on fire. And I think no better way than for us to talk about Texas A&M. Now, I'll be honest, this is my team. They just brought in KJ Edwards, the number 2 running back in the entire nation. Now, this is not the only big piece of news when it comes to Texas A&M football. Based on every report, rumor, because it's a rumor-filled business, folks, when we're talking about recruiting. You hear little inklings, little breadcrumbs across the nation on where these potential high schoolers are going to make their decision. And Texas A&M, as a tale as old as time, has become the perennial team that is rising throughout the summer, as they now have the number 6 overall recruiting class, I believe, based on 247 and the composite, and they are just surging right now. They had an official visit that was just littered with 5-star and 4-star talents. I believe there is potential, I think, with all the different commitments that have gone on over the past couple of days, I can't guarantee this, but they have an 88% blue chip ratio. 88% of their class is 4 stars and 5 stars. And it's the same chart that you'll see in every preseason of what teams are actual contenders because they fit the blue chip ratio. It's a key metric that we have seen over the past couple of years that define the true national title contenders. What's the difference? Well, it's the logo with Texas A&M right now. Can they bring in guys like KJ Edwards, which, by the way, in later, episodes, we are going to spend some time talking about, what does their film look like? I'll just, as a treat, if you're an actual football aficionado, expert, someone that enjoys watching film, KJ Edwards is a good time. That dude is electric with the football in his hands. Just the amount of bursts, over 4,000, if I'm remembering correctly, let me check my notes, 4,000 career rushing yards at this point in his young career, class of 2026. This dude is just an absolute baller. I will say, someone that we will talk about throughout today, as he has made a ton of headlines, segueing away from just Texas A&M, Lamar Brown, the defensive tackle / offensive tackle, the number 1 athlete in the entire class of 2026, the number 1 player in the state of Louisiana. And if you are an LSU fan, or truthfully any college football fan, anytime some top player from Louisiana that doesn't go to LSU, red flags. That's not a good thing, not for the sense of the player, more for LSU. How are you not going to be able to lock up a guy like Lamar Brown? And he has not made his decision. It's July 10th. It's one of the most anticipated of the entire cycle. And right now it's Texas A&M, and LSU, with Miami kind of lurking around. Miami has been a team that, in a lot of different areas, has become one of those big teams that continuously works with their NIL funds. And I guarantee you, Miami fans will tell you that they are in the hunt for a guy like Lamar Brown. But I will say this, as of right now, from based on everything that I can read and research, it looks like it's Texas A&M and LSU. And by the way, I'll just take a step back. You did hear me correct. Offensive tackle and defensive line. It sounds like he's being recruited more to go to the defensive line. He's just a freak athlete. Put on his tape, you'll see instantly why he's the #1 overall athlete in the class of 2026. The interesting piece, and the reason why I'm talking about it so early, right before he even makes his final commitment, is he comes off of his visit, I believe, to Texas, takes a visit to Texas A&M, and then following that visit, after tweeting out saying, how incredible Texas A&M's visit was, he cancels his LSU visit. His hometown team cancels it. It's a big storyline. It sounds like Texas A&M is in the driver's seat of this recruitment. 24 hours later, he announces that LSU is going to be an official visit for him, which is massive for Brian Kelly and this team. It could be an NIL funded thing. Truthfully, I just think that all it takes is a conversation between the coaches that you have built up a relationship with that can convince a kid to take that official visit. Obviously, these are very young athletes in their careers. They're going to be swayed one way or another. He tweeted out saying, I'm just doing what's best for my family. It wouldn't shock me if LSU said, hey, we'll give you a little extra. We'll send a little your way. Just get into the building, get with our coaches that you have these relationships with. So I do think it's back to about 50-50 between Texas A&M and LSU. This is going to be a very heated battle between the two. Mike Elko and their team has done fantastic work. And I think LSU, though not in the driver's seat for this, I know I just said 50-50. I would lean more towards Texas A&M based on the momentum. It's June 17th by the time I'm recording this. So there is a long runway, and you always want to be the team that gets that last official visit, that last taste of what that campus is like, what you're going to be buying into as a player. And LSU is in a prime spot right now. Let's segue away from Texas A&M and what's going on in the middle of the country, or I would say the middle South. Let me clarify, I'm not that dumb. Florida continues to have a hot streak. And when I say a hot streak, we are talking about Jaraylon McCoy and a ton of different commitments. Florida has just been on fire as of recently. And there's a lot of reason why a lot of people are hyping up Florida to potentially be as high as a top 10 preseason team. This roster is super well equipped to be a high-end roster in college football this upcoming year. They just, in my opinion, need the wins to really explode this class. But you don't just get a class out of thin air in 3 months' time. You plant the seeds in the summer and in the spring, and Florida's doing that. Now, if they bring the sustained success of the upcoming season, we're looking at something truly, truly special. Jaraylon McCoy, #9 overall prospect, top 15 nationally ranked defensive lineman. He was a former LSU commit. This is a huge victory, I would say, for Florida, and they just have a ton of momentum across the board. To my understanding, they also got Caden Hall, a safety, committed on June 3rd. Jaraylon committed on June 14th. They have so much momentum as a program. Let me take a look. Let's see, where is Florida ranked in the composite? Because it wouldn't surprise me if they are just going to continue to surge over the next couple weeks in this 2026 class, because they just seem like they are setting themselves up for a incredible run this upcoming year. Apologies as I try to find it right now. They were top 10 last year, and you want to always be ranking in top 10. They're only about 24, which doesn't surprise me as we are early in the class. 24/7 has Jaraylon as a 3-star commit. I disagree with that. Based on the tape that I've watched, I think he is going to be someone that by the time they do their updates, he's going to be a 4-star. They continue to impress in terms on the recruiting trail. I think they're getting a lot of momentum. Like I said, they need the on-field to really get the ball rolling. It seems like this month of June has just been truthfully one of the best months that you can have as a team in the SEC. Lastly, I want to talk about one guy that was formerly, as you could see by the graphic, if you could see the little details, Jet, I'm going to butcher the last name, Thamala. That wasn't that difficult. Flips from Iowa State to Alabama. Jet, being a strong arm quarterback with a little bit of mobility, multi-sport athlete, point guard, if I'm seeing that correctly, 4-star, number one in New England, 15th ranked overall quarterback. Originally was at Iowa State, took a visit June 6th. 11 days later, he is committed to Alabama. Huge flip for Kalen DeBoer. The reason why I'm super focused on this is, truthfully, Kalen DeBoer, anytime he's wanting a quarterback or anytime he gets a quarterback, my radar goes off. He is a quarterback guru. He loved, I believe it was Mac, who came from Washington, now is at Alabama. Obviously, now they're rocking with Ty Simpson, but I guarantee you he's going to feel super comfortable if he has to shift to Mac. There is a lot to like on the quarterbacks that he brings in, knowing that they're going to be guys that, obviously, you have your quarterback with Keelan Russell. That's going to be your young star. But planting the seeds with guys like this who I think have a ton of upside and a ton of raw talent that is just going to sit there and develop. I like a flip like this. These are the ones that you want to keep track of if you're an Alabama fan. These are the ones that you want to just sit in your pocket. Watch the Elite 11 if you really want to get nerdy about it. But these multi-sport athletes, these guys that are just super athletic, a little bit raw, but he's got that juice to him that I kind of like when you watch him on film. If you want to hear the stats, I have them pulled up right here. Finished his junior campaign, completed 250 out of 359 passes, 69.6 completion percentage, had 47 touchdowns, 3 picks with 3,633 yards, and also ran for 76 yards and a touchdown. As a first-year starter, posted a 10-2 record at Millard South, number one player in the state of New England for good reason. So I think there's a lot to like here, being able to get a guy that, truthfully, with a program like Iowa State, who has been so good about identifying young studs and developing them, when you have really good scouting departments and you have really good, I would just say scouts, or I'm blanking on the words, that can go find these guys. Obviously, you always run into the case of like a group of 5 player goes and transfers to a bigger school. But what if you can get there earlier? And I think this could be a case with Alabama. And I think this could be one of those guys that we look back and be like, oh, he was a 4-star, but he's just an absolute stud post Keelan Russell era. Or Keelan has not played, so we don't 100% know he's going to work out. I will say this, though. I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to tell me what you want to see. Do you want me to pull up a huddle? Would you prefer film breakdowns of these players? Do you want me to expand and just go across every single team, every single episode? I want to check in about every 2 weeks, maybe even weekly when we get closer to early signing day. I want to make recruiting matter again at the end of the day. I wouldn't be making these videos late at night when I could be going to bed. I want to make recruiting feel like when it was, and when I was in high school, when I was checking my phone, setting time out of my day to watch these commitments happen, because I think it's what made college football just a little bit more special than it already was. But with that being said, this is Voice of College Football, SEC Live. Tune in every single Monday. Me and Bama going head to head every single week. And stay for a while, and I'll see you guys next time.